Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off grid in Australia. It is Sunday, and on Sundays is generally a catch up video. Everyone likes to see what we've got done during the week, and I like to share. And I kind of find it's a little bit like having a word has just left my brain. What are they called? A a partner who makes you get stuff done. There's a word for it, and I've lost it. It'll probably come to me. Yeah, that's gonna bug me. I feel like it's like an word, and yeah. Anyway, so I find sometimes by talking to you guys about stuff on Sundays, it pushes me to get things done by the next Sunday to share them because I've said I was going to do it. So now now I have to do it because I've said I'm going to do it. And there's pros and cons to that. It puts pressure on me, which is sometimes a poor choice, but at the same time, if there is no external pressure on getting things done, then we live a fairly laid back lifestyle, and it's easy to fall into not getting a lot done, and then that bugs me. That really screws with my mental health if I get to the end of a week and nothing has been accomplished, and I'm sitting here talking to you guys and sharing stuff and feeling like we just didn't get anything done. That it doesn't make me feel very good. So I like the fact that by talking to you guys about what I'm trying to do, it makes me want to get it done more, to share it. Sometimes there's some flaws to it. Sometimes people, have the whole opinion of, well, you're not getting anywhere, and you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and I can see especially how that comes across, how you can feel like that when you're just watching the bits and pieces. So I give most people benefit of the doubt. I think most people have seen that if someone makes a negative comment on my YouTube or Facebook or whatever, I normally answer politely with a reflective response at least twice, generally twice, 3 times, and then if they still are just being ridiculous, then I will just block them. But all engagement is good engagement. And also, you're only seeing these small snippets, so sometimes I feel like the opinion that someone might have and share, by responding appropriately, they'll realize, hang on, I was seeing that in a little bit of a wrong way, or a little bit of a different way to actually how it is. And I think that that's beneficial. I always take comments on board, like some I don't, obviously, because people are people. But generally speaking, any bit of advice that's given to me, I will contemplate it. It may not be relevant, but I will still take it on board as something that someone has spent the time to share with me, and therefore it's worth spending time to just contemplate it, Anyway, this week has been a little bit of a write-off. I got a whole lot of pork and stuff done, which is filmed, which will be the next video, the sausage rolls and stuff. I saw someone ask for my recipe for sausage rolls in the comments. I will put that with the next video because I've made a bulk batch of them again. So that will come out. So I worked through all that pork. The Ninja Creamy and stuff will be coming out as well. But the week got a little bit... I had a bit of a flare-up in the middle of the week, and I basically was bedridden for a day. My body decided it had had enough. So I had a day of just basically being in bed, unable to do much of anything. And then you always have the day of recovery because you have to bump the meds to get through the bad day. And then you've got the day of recovery after bumping meds and after, crashing, but not really being very good crashing. Like, you might sleep for 12 hours, but that 12 hours sleep is not good quality sleep. And so then you get another day of recovering from it. So it's been a little bit of a crappy week for me. I just feel like I lost a couple of days in there, which is super frustrating. And I'm standing in the kitchen looking out here and seeing the impact of that, in that, like normally I give the kitchen a scrub every day because I'm out here cooking, and obviously it hasn't been done to the standard that I would normally do it, which is still below standard to a lot of people because we live outdoors and all the rest of it. But to the standard that I would normally do it is not quite. It's not quite there. So I'm going to have to give some surfaces some sanitizing and scrubbing before I do any food prep. Which I might do first. I'm thinking that it's nice and warm today, and the Aberdeen Food Pantry Hamper only happens once a month, but every second Saturday they also open up the pantry shop, and if they get some extras, then they offer them as well. So they had some extra produce yesterday, some lettuce and some tomatoes, some more of those frozen pies. So the kids got some frozen pies to put in the freezer to add to the collection that they already have, that they do eat for lunches regularly. Someone comes to me at 11 o'clock and goes, "What are we eating for lunch?" And I said, throw some pies in the oven because it's nice and easy. So I'm grateful for those. They just make lunchtime a little bit easier sometimes, though they're still really into the ramen. But I do need to make some more ramen seasoning, actually. I made more chili oil the other day, but I haven't made any more ramen seasoning yet. Anyway, I digress. So because I have those salad stuff, I thought I might make hamburgers for dinner. So I might make some brioche dough to make some hamburgers, some hamburger rolls, because it's nice and warm. They will proof nice and quickly. So what I might do is clean up this kitchen, get myself some spray. I'm not sure where my spray bottle is. We use a mix of citrus vinegars and some Castile soap, peppermint Castile soaps and things like that to sanitize all our benches. And we do have some Dettol sprays and stuff as well that I use every now and again to just make sure that everything is nice and clean. But that's the beauty of stainless steel, is that it doesn't hold. So long as you're giving it a good scrub and a wipe down with something that has a slight abrasiveness to it, like a Castile soap, like a vinegar, then it doesn't hold anything, which is wonderful. And then I do my wooden boards regularly as well. So the cast iron stove is a bit of an issue. We don't cook directly on the stove plates. So realistically, the actual stove plates, the fact that they get gungy looking isn't that big a deal. It's the pans that have to be clean, but it bugs me just because they get greasy, and then because we've got the outdoor kitchen, dust and dirt and stuff blows into the kitchen and sticks to the grease, and then they look crappy. But cleaning this size cast iron plates is a really big job, so it doesn't get done as often as I'd like, but maybe I will request that Darryl does it for me, because I'd normally get him to do it. He fills up a big bucket with some hot soapy water, soaks them all, gives them all the scrub for me, and puts them all back as a thank you for cooking all the meals, I suppose. But I have to remind him to do it, and I haven't asked for a while, so I might need to ask for that to be a task this week. We will see. But anyway, I'm going to clean up this bench and get the dough started so that that's going, and then we'll come back and have a chat about garden plans and what I've ordered and some of the 3D stuff that I've been doing. Sonnet's doing that market, so we've been doing a lot of plans for that. Anyway, let me clean up before I squirrel even more, and we will get these burger buns done. All right, so we're going to do standard. I generally do a dough on a Sunday because I'm standing in the kitchen, so it makes sense to do it. This is my standard light brioche hamburger roll. It's on the website, and I've had lots of people trying it lately and really enjoying it, and which makes me happy because it's a bit like the pizza dough. I spent so long getting it right for me, knowing that that's not necessarily right for everyone else, but right for me, that when people try it and it works, it's satisfying. So my light brioche is a little bit enriched, but not overly so, and that was the point. A lot of these have eggs and all sorts of things in it, and I found it too much. So I use coconut cream because we do predominantly dairy free, though we have lifted that quite a lot lately. As the kids have gotten older, the youngest is almost 10 now, so their allergies seem to be a little bit more controllable, but because they've always had issues with dairy, I still like to just reduce the dairy and keep it low where I can, and then that way they can enjoy the bits of dairy and the things that are important, and the stuff where it isn't important, it doesn't matter. So like in these rolls, all it is that we're adding some fats and some richness to the dough. It doesn't matter whether it's dairy or not. Coconut cream works perfectly well in this. So we do coconut cream, we do lukewarm water. We do yeast, except my yeast jar seems to be missing, which is strange. 25 grams of yeast. We're going to do some sugar. Sugar is personal preference to quantity, but it helps to brown them, and it's a sweet sort of a brioche roll, so I always like to add a decent amount of sugar. And then we're going to add some olive oil. And I have no idea, I didn't zero that, and I'm winging it. Some olive oil and some salt, and then we're just going to add our flour, which is about 1250 to 1300 grams of flour, which brings it up to about a 2.5 kilo batch of dough. Now, I don't foam my yeast or anything before I use it, but I also go through yeast really quickly in this household, so I'm never really concerned about it being unusable. And I use my KitchenAid for dough because of the quantities that I make. I find that the Thermomix works really well on small batches, but not so much on the bigger batches. But also the KitchenAid bowl is a bit easier to clean from dough. I have been having a few issues with my KitchenAid lately. It's a fair age now and I work it pretty hard. But I have looked at some other options in the way of stand mixers. Like, I really like the look of the Ankerstrom, but from everything I've read, it works really well for dough, but not so much for anything else. And I have my Thermomixes, so maybe that would be fine. But I do like having the KitchenAid to be able to use for other things. I like making cookies, generally speaking, in the KitchenAid because you can see and add easier than in the Thermomix. But also the batch sizes that I make. So, I don't know, I have to have a think about it. But my KitchenAid definitely is struggling a little bit lately, and as it gets hotter it might get worse. It's overheating quicker, and just, yeah, when I'm doing some long-winded doughs, like some doughs that I want a good window pane on, so I want sort of a 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 minute knead, it's struggling a little bit with that. So we shall see. At the moment it's working, and that's all that matters. And I of course can knead dough by hand if I want to. I just don't, because that's the beauty of having a KitchenAid, is not having to do that. So, you know, anyway, we'll get this sorted. I'll get a container to put it in. Whoops, I got a bit sidetracked. Walked past to get a container, realised there was no washing in the machine. Put a load of washing on. So this has been going a little bit longer than it needs to. It's a little bit tacky. It's fine. I could go longer and it would come back from the tackiness. Normally I just stop before it gets too tacky and just let it do a proof. But I got sidetracked. So anyway, I'm just going to scrape it into a bowl, put it to proof, and I'll bring you back once I'm shaping the dough. All right, dough doubled. Let's get working with it, get it shaped, and then we will get proofed again and baked off, ready for dinner tonight. Doesn't take long in this heat. Alright. What else was there? So, in regards to the roof out here too, because I get asked about it every video, how we're going with it. We've got all the poles and supports up, but we need to put the panels up, and the panels are quite weighty, and Darryl has issues with his shoulder and I have issues with my hands. Darryl's just getting home, so I'm just going to wait for the dogs to finish having a go. And then we had the issues with one of our ladders broke. So we currently only have one full-size ladder. So Darryl is heading to Toowoomba next week, and when he goes he will buy a replacement ladder, and until that point we're a little bit stuck. Alright, so we're separating it into 90 gram odd balls, not being overly exact, using a little bit of flour on the outside edge just to get them shaped, and running them into a ball like this. It's a very loose, soft dough, so we're going to try not to knock too much air out of it because we want it to be fairly fluffy. So I can't find my dough cutter scraper thingy, so I'm just using my spatula, which, you know, works. Can't see my scales for the glare. And about 90 grams, put the back of it in the flour, fold it all in, pinch, and roll. And then we've got these slightly tacky hamburger buns. So I'm just doing that with all of it, and then I will give them just the time it takes for me to preheat the oven, because they're already puffing up, and it has gotten really warm today. I think it's 30 odd. So just going to do this, get them all done nice and quickly, and then I'll bring you back when I'm washing them. Alright, just going to brush them with a little bit of egg and water, optional, but it does make them brown up nicely, and then it helps the seeds to stick. So I'm going to find if I've got any everything bagel left and sprinkle that on the top as well. Then we get salt, sesame seeds, poppy seeds, all of the above, which is always tasty. Just sprinkle it, run out, we'll use plain sesame seeds.
Like that enough, or more?
Doesn't really matter, just
Yeah.
I find that easier to do. Heavy on the poppy seeds at the moment because the poppy seeds are the smallest item in the mix, so they tend to end up sinking to the bottom, but that's fine. So I'm just going to throw these in. I've got the oven on. I don't want them to overproof, so I'm just going to throw them in and they'll finish the proofing in that last burst in the oven. Alright, hamburger buns are done. So perfect squishy hamburger buns. These will just get put away so the birds and stuff don't have a go at them until dinner tonight. And then I'm probably going to use frozen meat patties. Actually, I've got some of those really nice ones from Costco, because I've got to do other things and I don't really want to mince up beef for burger patties. Alright, so the burger buns are done. I need to finish showing you guys some stuff, but first I just wanted to throw, this is the homemade dry muffin mix, the straight muffin mix that I made, and there's probably one serve left, and I'm just going to throw it in the oven so the kids have a snack for later. So this mix is 420 grams of the dry mix, which should be, slightly, it's 440. Obviously, you know, there's going to be some deviations of measurement when you get to the end of it. And then all we add to it, I have notes, I can't remember off the top of my head. Muffin mix, 420 of the dry, 250 of the milk. So the other thing was that I wanted to use up the other half of the tin of coconut cream that I opened. So it won't be quite 250, but it's cream, not milk. So I'm just going to top it up with a little water to make it 250. 125 grams of oil. And an egg, and then we need about a cup of mix-ins. I'm going to add some chocolate chips, some pecans, I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, and I think I'm going to add a touch of raspberry flavouring. Add some vanilla. I've got this Frontier Co-op raspberry, which is really, really nice in so many things. It just adds this lovely sort of a boost to flavours. Just a tiny bit of that. About half a cup of choc chips. And we'll just
do similar in pecans. I'm just going to break them up with my hands. Really just a really simple throw it together kind of a thing. Just to get it done and in the oven, and just something else for them to snack on later. And because I wanted to use the end of that muffin mix because it's got baking powder and stuff in it, so you don't want it to sit for exceptionally long periods of time because it will lose some of its lift. So I'd like to make a fresh batch up. So I need to use the old batch to make the fresh batch up. So just crushing these up into some chunks. I was thinking of walnuts when I was thinking of crushing with my hands. Walnuts are easier. I thought these would be similar. Anyway, I'm just going to fold it all together. It takes about 25 minutes at about 180 to cook. Really simple, quick thing. And the kids can make it easily as well, which was the point of it all. Notes are easy to follow. Throw everything in and it's all good. And the batch makes a solid 12, which is always nice. So I'm going to just throw these in the oven and cook these off, tidy up, and then move on. Alrighty, they're in the oven. I've got 25 minutes until I have to pull them out and keep moving. So what else were we talking about today? I was going to go over the further plans that we've now had for the gardens and stuff. Let me take you out the back. Right, so in regards to the garden, we have all the garden space that I've shown you before. I will go out there and have a look at the raspberries as well too. And we've got the hothouse and everything that we built over the other side of the house. Now, hindsight and all that, it's something that you don't understand until you've done something as to whether it's going to work. Not really. And to a degree you can make things work and to a degree you can't. So the garden space where we put it was because that was cleared space. So when we got the house placed where it is, the guy who delivered it didn't really listen, is what it comes down to. And the house was placed in the back corner of the cleared space. It was an odd positioning for it. Anyway, so what we did was we built the pig pens and the gardens and stuff over to the right of the house where there was cleared space because that's what we had. But then the yards in front of the house, so the yards between the garden space and us, and the dogs are in the yard and things like that. And there's multiple gates between the two locations as well. And access to that side of the house just hasn't been superb. There's also some really giant gum trees, like a massive, massive gum tree that drops branches all the time and has damaged different parts of the garden over the years. And realistically, it's just not the most ideal place to do it. We put the orchard over that side as well, with the grey water running to it, but we rarely go out that side. So I go out there for maintenance purposes, but nothing's looked after as well as it could be because it's all away from where we are, where we put everything, away from where we go regularly, away from where we, check things out on a regular basis. So what we've decided is that garden space, I discussed it last time, that garden space is going to be turned, I'm just moving into the shade, that garden space is going to be turned into berries, perennials, all that sort of thing. So I've got some blueberries coming that are going to be planted in there. I've got the raspberries planted in there. I've got some boysenberries. I'm going to put strawberries in there. The strawberries are only in punnets at the moment. And some herbs, and I might do a couple of beds of potatoes and a couple of beds of beans, things like that. Green crops and things that don't require constant maintenance. They only need to be checked on a couple of times a week and watered and irrigated and stuff, but not constant ice kept on them. The other thing is that the space, we have problems with rodents and birds and all sorts of things, and it's not, the way we built it, it's not really feasible to cover it. We tried using netting at some point, but because there's so many trees around, the netting catches all the leaves and then tears, and the bush rats have been able to get in no matter what we did. So we have decided this year to buy a enclosed aviary type thing. I will put a picture of it on the screen. It's sold by Vita XL, and we've had stuff from Vita XL before, and it's a little hit and miss. It will be fun to put together. There's just no escaping that. But for the price, for what it is, it's going to work for us. So this space here behind me is directly out the back door. So the house is just there. That's my new little veranda. The chicken pens are directly in front of me. And this space here is a space that I look at and go to multiple times a day. I walk from that back patio to the chicken pens. I look out that back door. I sit on that patio all the time. So we have bought this aviary. It's a 9x3. And we're going to lay aviary mesh on the ground and up the sides of it so that nothing can dig in underneath it, and set up the 9x3 garden space out here. We're going to run mostly wicking hydroponic type stuff in it, rather than set beds. We're going to try and put a couple of the IBC wicking beds in here, a couple of the barrels, and some other hydroponic style stuff, which is what we did the very first year we gardened. We had a lot smaller space, and as we've expanded, we've gone more into trying to do the whole market garden thing, and it hasn't worked for us. So we're going to do that. The theory is less plants, bigger yield, because you are monitoring it more and you're using hydroponics and things like that. We will see how we go, but we're going to do that. The other thing I did was order some of the UV stable potting bags to put the trees that we've bought in. So instead of putting the trees in the ground straight away, I'm going to coddle them a little bit in these big 35-litre pots, and figure out exactly where we want to put them. We're going to create surrounds for when we put them in the ground and things like that, and just establish them a little bit before putting them in the ground. So we've still got a lot of clearing to do in here as well. We've got to take a lot of these trees here are dead. So we got to take these down, and then we'll put them aside for firewood for next year, and things like that. So we're still a fair bit of work to go. The back patio roof is still something we got to do too. Now, we were going to do insulated roofing, which is what we've used for other parts of the roofing, and it's such a simple thing to do, but it's hard to transport, it's expensive, and we just haven't been able to source it. So I think what we're going to do is the UV polyurethane roofing. So it cuts about 40% light, 45% of UV, 99% of UV, 45% light, 45% of heat, which is fine because the back of the house there actually doesn't get, like, it's in shade from lunchtime onwards, and we don't want to reduce the light that goes in there because the house is already quite dark, so we actually want to open it up to allow more light in there anyway. So by using the polyurethane roofing, it'll be nice and lightweight. It'll mean that we can just use treated timber to create the structure that the roofing is going to go on. We don't have to worry about using metal or anything else. We can just go really simple because the roofing is lightweight. You can't put anything on the roof, but that's fine because the roofing at the back of the house is south facing anyway, and it's going to be sloping south facing, so we couldn't put solar panels or anything on it even if we had the desire to do so, because it's not facing the right direction. But that's going to be the plan, I think. We're going to get a couple of extra IBCs to use for water purposes, so there'll be one at this structure here, and then we've got the new 12-volt pumps with the Bluetti, so I'm going to show you guys that again as we set that up. The Bluetti is what we're going to use to do the irrigation for the main garden with the berries and stuff, but also to help here. We will run some power here as well because there is going to need to be, if we're going to have some hydroponic pumping going, we'll do that on a small 12-volt system as well. But because it's nice and close to the house and stuff, it gives us the availability of doing that. And if it's only running a small pump, then you don't need much in the way of panels or anything either, or batteries or anything, because it just runs straight off the panels pretty much all day. And then you can even have it turned off at nighttime, so when the solar drops, it drops off and then it picks back up in the morning when it picks up again. So we will see how we go, but we're going to try and do less that has to be reticulated and more that is gravity fed anyway. So but we will see where we go with that. It's going to be a fairly large space, but I think I'll fill it up pretty quick because that's what I tend to do. But that's the plan for out here. We do have some seeds starting already. We're having to bring them inside at night at the moment still because it's still getting down under the 5 degrees quite often, but it's not supposed to now. It's supposed to warm right up now. And we have had some, I noticed my calendula is sprouting, which only happens once the night temperatures get above a certain point, but I haven't got any tomatoes or chilies or anything sprouting yet because it's just not quite warm enough. I do have a shelf unit that I set up that has lighting and heat mats and everything, but it's not in a position to be plugged in at the moment because it's behind the brooder with the chickens. So that was the other thing. I did share on Facebook and Instagram that we ended up with 19 of 21 chickens hatched. That was really good. And I've got another 3 dozen eggs in the incubator now. Some bantams that I bought, some fertile eggs that I bought, as well as some Hamburgers and stuff from our own flock to increase the numbers of some of those breeds as well. So hopefully we get a good hatch rate out of those as well. It was a really impressive hatch rate for the first hatch of the year using those cheap Amazon incubators, so that was pretty cool. What else did we need to cover? I was going to show you some of the 3D stuff for the people who are interested. So the tissue boxes, I am almost ready to have them up to be ordered. I've got a few different sayings. I'll put some photos in here. I've got a few different sayings worked on the tops of them. I've got a tropical leaf pattern. I've got the mushroom pattern, some wildflowers, and a standard geometric pattern. If there's something else you can think of, let me know. I've been playing with all sorts of things, and we can have half a dozen of them in the house, and then I can photograph them, and you can just order them, and I can make them to order. Sonnet's got the market coming up in a couple of weeks, so I've been making lots of little bits and pieces for her too. Lots of stuff that I wouldn't normally make, little keyringy type things and stuff, and multicolored stuff. But I do have a bunch of the kit kiln chunkables too that I make for myself because I really like them. But I'll let her take them all to the table. If anyone wants them, they can have them, the lightsabers, things like that. So we're getting that sorted. I'll make sure she takes some footage of the table when she goes and does that as well. So I've been doing all of that sort of stuff and designing and just, chugging along, lots of D&D stuff as well. Darryl and I are, he's writing an adventure at the moment based on Australia and the animals in Australia and turning them into a bit of a horror style adventure. So I'm going to work on some art for him for that, which will be fun. So he's away again for a couple of days on the 11th, I think it is. Which is when Sonnet's doing her market, so she's going to do that with some friends instead of with Darryl, which is fine. But yeah, so let me have a think, go in and check those muffins, and I'll see if there's anything else we need to end off here. Seedlings are doing well. I just thought I'd quickly show you. So we've got some calendula has just started sprouting, which is good, but none of the chilies or the tomatoes have yet. But it's not surprising because the temperatures probably just aren't quite high enough without having the heat mats underneath them. The strawberry little suckers are doing well, which is good because I will get them out in the garden beds probably next week or the week after. That garden bed has a netting over it, so it's protected. I just wanted to get them a little bit more established beforehand. And we've got some herbs, and we only lost one, and it was a basil, which again, not surprising because the temperatures just dropped a little bit. It was a purple basil. The purple basil doesn't seem to like it, but the green seems to be going okay. So everything else looks good, and we've got a few things in our little hydroponics, some silver beet and some lettuce going in those little hydroponic pods to get the seeds started. So we're getting that, and fruit trees are all doing really well. So we've got some great growth on these. This one's even flowering. I'm going to have to pull the flowers off. I can get a focus on them. But this was one of the ones that got damaged by the geese. It's had quite a significant amount of damage on the stem. It looks like it might have some greening. We'll see how it goes. But like the cherry tree, has got some good growth coming in all the way up the stem. And then we've got the other 4 here, and we're just waiting on, as I said, I'm going to get those planter bags for those ones, so that will work. And then this one's starting to leaf up a little bit as well, so we'll get these into those planter bags. So I think I'll leave it there. I will come back after I've edited. I'll do a pop-up in the kitchen if I have to for sharing anything, and I'll should have some photos of those things for the 3D stuff while I was talking, and we will see how we go. So thanks for watching again, guys, and I will see you on the next video.